Hello and welcome to Serve Exclusive. I am your host, Natasha Brown. On this episode of Exclusive, we will be speaking with an astute gentleman, like I would like to call him personally. He is a politician. He also is the APC candidate running for the office of House of Assembly, Omuma constituency, Rivers State. He is the former caretaker chairman, Omuma local government as well, and also a managing partner at Ubani Co law firm. This is absolutely going to be an amazing interview. You want to stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, welcome here, sir. Really lovely to have you on set.
Thank you for having me.
You have such an impressive CV. Really impressive. All right, so getting right into it. To my audience, this is Mr. Kenneth Kelechi Ubani, an astute solicitor. And you said the other one was you can be a solicitor and a barrister separately in the UK, elsewhere, but in Nigeria, it's put together. Yes. And I didn't know there was such a difference, actually. I just thought, it was all in one. But yeah, that was an enlightening one to know about you. So let's get right into the interview. Your foray into politics. Why did you choose to venture into politics?
It's passion for service. Okay, and I noticed that there was variety of politicians who were into politics to serve the people. And I felt those of us who are professionals, including yourself, we are not doing our society any good by considering politics to be for those that we consider to be the professional politicians. Indeed, politics is for us because political affairs affect your life, it affects my life, and of course generations to come. And so it's because of that that I had to take the very difficult decision to get into the fray. And like I said, it's born out of void that I have seen, a leadership void or gap that those who are so far running our affairs are unable to fill. And the consequences of that are unemployment that has skyrocketed, their economic situation, insecurity, poor health.
The list is endless.
The list is endless. And so, and for those of us who have, in our own little way, managed to distinguish ourselves, no matter how minimal, even for a cobbler who diligently, undertakes his or her trade over the years, garners experience, which can quite be profitable if such a cobbler,
applies himself properly.
Yes, into politics. And so,
right.
Yeah.
So I love. First of all, I must say that you are doing so incredibly well with your law firm, Ubani Co. I would like you to enlighten us a bit more. How did you gain this trajectory? How did you become a managing partner, of this great establishment? And especially because you've been in this career for over 20-something years.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
21st year. Yeah,
that's a long time.
Yeah, it took a process, and that's one thing that some of those who are younger than I am, and some of my own contemporaries too, and some older ones fail to understand that it takes a process to achieve success that is sustainable. People want to get to the destination. They are not interested in following through with the process. I commenced my legal career as an associate in a private law firm, T.O. Wama and Associates. And that was after my youth service in Kaduna, precisely in 2004. And I was in that law firm for 6 years. And while in that law firm, I devoted my all to the practice of law. It was, the level of commitment was out of this world, to the extent that the owner of the firm then, of course, who was the managing solicitor of that law firm, I was the only, lawyer in that firm that had access to that office at all times. Because I needed that access because I was so passionate about learning that even on Sundays, I would find my way to the office to read, to gain knowledge. And so when he noticed that I was that passionate in learning, he gave me room, and that room didn't just stop at the office. For cases that I was handling, because of the passion and of course the input, he gave me that leeway to actually be able to express myself, such that even in my first year of legal practice, I was doing cases with senior advocates on the other side. Yes.
Exceptional.
Yeah. And so, I give it to him because some other senior lawyers in the firm, when they look at the complexity of the case, no matter how much they understand that so much about the case in chambers, they would have minimal confidence.
They would not want to risk it.
Exactly. But he did all that, and that enabled me to grow very fast. And so at 6 years at the bar in his law firm, because I had so distinguished myself, we now started talking about partnership. And so the fourth partnership I had was a partnership of my former boss who groomed me as a legal practitioner and 2 others. So we formed a firm known as Sterling Law Alliance. And we had 4 partners at that time. Yours truly, my boss, and then 2 others. And I was in that partnership for 10 years. And so we grew Sterling Law Alliance to the enviable height where it is still a going concern even as we speak. So after a while, I thought it was time for me to try out, of course,
venture out on your own
experience that we have here at Ubani Co. And so that's the trajectory. And of course, like I said, it came through a process. It just didn't happen. And so for us, especially for the younger ones, success takes process, especially the sustainable one.
I appreciate the fact that you talk about process, because honestly, and it's not like you rightly said, even your counterparts, not just even the young ones, we don't necessarily appreciate the process. In fact, not that we might not appreciate it, but we don't have the patience for it. How can we stay at a thing for 6 years, 10 years, and we're not hitting our target really quick? So it definitely is something to appreciate from your wealth of knowledge, that's something you're really keen to.
Yeah. And I need to mention here that when I started my legal practice career, my salary was 10,000 naira.
You are kidding.
No, I'm not.
As a graduate?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was 10,000 naira. And it was irregular.
Right.
It was irregular. So it wasn't even like something I was getting every month when it's due. Because, my then boss, of course, had his own challenges. And so sometimes, genuinely, of course, there were no times that maybe he was making so much money and he could not cater to that responsibility. But those were some of the holders. So, my parents, particularly my mom, she was still giving me some
stipends.
Yes, to sustain me.
At what age?
I was 24.
Okay.
Yeah. So, eventually, things started changing. And how did they change? It came about from the experience and the exposures I was getting. I started, interacting with more persons, and then the opportunities started coming. And even though I was on a salary of 10,000 per month, but within the first year of my commencement of my legal career, I had made enough money to buy my first car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not based off of your salary now.
No. Because various law firms have their own mode of engagement of legal practitioners. Okay. Like the case I had I was entitled to my own briefs.
Okay.
Okay, but of course with full disclosure, such that it doesn't conflict with that of the firm. What some lawyers would do would be to hide that part, and then in the end, there's conflict, and who suffers? The clients. Now, when the clients suffer, of course, ultimately, the firm suffers, because if a client's matter starts going awry, they're not going to retain such a legal practitioner, especially when it's an apparent error on the part of the legal practitioner. So, I had that leverage to have my own clients. And of course, it was through that process that I was able to make enough money to buy myself my first car. So, but if I didn't take, that engagement of 10,000 naira per month, I wouldn't have known that there was an opportunity even in that for growth.
I love this. And the thing that I'm trying to do right now is not to get too much into this part of your life, because it's so inspirational and so educating, especially to us, the youth, why a lot of us are not. You tell somebody right now, I'm going to pay 10,000 naira just for experience, they're looking at you like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
that can even buy anything for me.
Yeah.
We are always, most of the time, not all of us though, but most of us are always looking at the short term.
Yeah.
This can do this right now.
Yeah.
You know, so it is important to us when we hear people like yourself, you know, who have attained such heights, make us understand that there actually is a process.
Yeah.
And just because you're starting at a lower state, so to speak, doesn't necessarily mean that's the trajectory your life is going to take. That is an important thing that I think a lot of you need to know, you know, worldwide, but especially in Nigeria. There, and I'm sure you have encountered that, where a number of us are not willing to take pittance for experience. Okay, so I'll just right now go into politics. Omuma, local government. You were once the caretaker chairman.
Yes.
For 3 months. What was your experience like in that aspect?
Yeah, my experience was I saw a people who were in their need of leadership, and the leadership they wanted was a leadership that is with passion and with compassion
for the people.
Not a leadership that I judge it itself to be a ruler, overall, and that cares just next to nothing for the people. And our people are very loving, and what they deserve or need from their leaders are not so much, are just the basic things. They want you to be there, to just a call. If, for instance, they are bereaved or they are hurt in one way or the other, or they are marrying, your presence. They were like, wow, a local government chairman, visiting me, either for good, for good events or otherwise. It means a lot to them because that's not something they are accustomed to. But you see, when I talked about politics being about service, that's actually what I mean. And so when you have those who actually view, engagement in politics, especially when they have the opportunity to lead their people, being a call to service, then it becomes easier to actually serve the people. And this service is, for me, is key. And so when I was the caretaker committee chairman, it was a very turbulent 3 months. And that was the last 3 months of the last administration.
Okay.
That's under Right Honorable Chibika Amechi in 2015. And Nigeria was at one of its worst economic downturns at that time. And so we didn't have enough funds to even pay salaries. And
at the local government,
yes. Even at the state, even as buoyant as Rivers State, at that point in time, Rivers State was impacted in terms of being able to pay salaries as and when due. So I noticed that as then a caretaker committee chairman, if I took all the allowances that I was entitled to,
and enrich yourself,
what will be left will be insufficient to pay wages to the other workers. And when I look at the wage bill, I saw that some of them at that time were earning about 20,000 naira. And then as a sitting chairman, with all the elements that go with it, I will be entitled to millions of naira. The first thing I did was to shelve those payments. The records are there. And for one of those months, for the 3 months I was there, I denied myself of salary to make sure that our people were paid their legitimate earnings, rather than thinking like the conventional politician would think that this is an opportunity. And I'm not talking about funds that could have been available for certain politicians to steal. There was no such funds. We're talking about grappling with payment of salary. So I had to make that sacrifice, and it was easier for me to make because of my own foundation. Because, like I said, involvement in politics is all about service, and I felt that was the least service I could give to my people. That at least within that period of a harsh economic situation, that those who were entitled to salaries got their salaries, as against by taking, the so much funds,
wage allotted to you.
And my local government was one of the local governments, if not the only one in Rivers State at that time, that was not owing wages. when we transition.
During that time.
Yes, when we transition.
That is beautiful to hear.
Yeah. And of course, lots of I'm someone who is so much into charity, and I'm very passionate about it. I don't want it to begin and end with me. You're a journalist. You can find time, go to Omuma, and just randomly just ask. And one of the things that I'm sure you will hear is all about, my penchant and passion to give. And I don't give because I have so much, but I give because it gladdens me to see the next person smile, from the little I can. I don't have so much, and that's why I'm looking for a broader political space to impact a whole lot more.
That's why you're coming into. Why you're coming into the House.
Yes.
The House of Assembly, and yes. I would have wanted to ask, why didn't you pitch for a second term? With the caretaker chairman committee position you had. But I'd get right into that after the short break. And we'll be right back.
Hey there, are you looking to record your videos, do your voiceovers, and take your professional pictures? Look no further. With our state-of-the-art newsroom, photography, kitchen for our food content creators, and exclusive children's studio, we certainly can deliver the best studio experience. Our carefully designed studio space can bring your diverse creative content ideas to life. We aim to consistently serve value to our customers far and wide. Come, let Tharv Media give life to your dreams. Tharv Media, a slice of infotainment.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, before we went on that short break, I was about to ask, why didn't you ask for a second term?
Oh, no, there was no room for that. Number one, it was the caretaker committee position was an appointive position. And so by evolution of the law, it terminated at the end of that administration. And so it wasn't an elective one.
Okay.
And of course it was for a time, which was for 3 months. And so at the end of the administration, of course, that was the end of it.
That was the end of it.
Yeah, and aside that, even if I had the opportunity to stand for election, which was the case, because during the period I superintended, the conduct of local government election in my LGA.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't put myself forward because I believe in the notion of fairness and equitable distribution of political opportunities that would come. In my local government, we practice a zoning system, and at the time in question, that position was zoned to a clan in my place called the Beri Obioya clan, which isn't my own clan.
Right.
From Ofe Ohimo Yoro clan. And we had our own opportunity at that position. So it was a ton of those who are from the Beri Obioya to produce the chairman. And so while I was there, I made sure that the chairman, emerged from the Beri Obioya, whose rightful place it was to produce the chairman.
I would love to comment that, based on interacting with you, even your body language speaks to the fact that you're a principled man and you're one who's driven by passion. It's not just theory. It's there. Like you've said to me, go and verify. If I wanted to go to Omuma local government to do that, which I likely will. But now, would you say, based off that short-term impact you had during that space of 3 months, do you think that would be the premise on which your community will come out en masse to re-elect you into the position of, the House of Assembly, which is a larger space for more impact? Would you say, based on that, they would?
No, that would be an addition to who the people already know me to be, because right. I started impacting in the lives of my people way before my venture into politics. So as a private legal practitioner, in my own little way, like I told you, I'm a whole lot into philanthropy. So I have done that over the years, long before I ever thought of getting involved in politics. So that trajectory, is there. And then when I had the opportunity too, for however the short and difficult the situation, my people also knew that I didn't go there to serve myself. They knew that even in the very tough situation I found myself, I still put them first, and then of course beyond that, I've also been, serving my people. So it's like you talked about passion. I'm someone who is very passionate about doing what is right, and I think it starts with us, and that's why when we have a lot of people talk about, oh, this person is a problem, Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that, River State is this, River State is that. The first question I ask them is, have you ever seen Nigeria before? And somehow they will shudder. And the answer is no.
Nigeria,
have you ever seen River State before? The answer is no. I said, look, it is you and I. So Nigeria is what it is because that's what you and I have made it to be. River State is what it is because you and I have made it so. And so by the time we say we want a better Nigeria, it starts with you being a better person than who you either have been, and the other person doing the same. And that's when we have a better society that we all clamor.
Everyone should have an ownership mentality.
Yeah.
Do your part.
And take responsibility.
Right.
We like to blame the next person. It could be a political party thing, which is very convenient. Oh, APC, oh, PDP, oh. Now Labour Party is still going to form government at some point, or I don't know to what extent. We're still going to say, oh, Labour Party. And you see, during my campaign train, a couple of times I asked, the electorate this question, which I will also throw. I asked them, who is the governor of Rivers State? They mentioned the name of the governor. I asked them, who is the president of Nigeria? They mentioned. And then I told them that they didn't mention PDP as the governor of Rivers State, that they didn't mention APC as the president of Nigeria. And that is to say that it is actually the individual that we elect and not the political party. But for convenience sake, and of course, they use this thing about political parties to hoodwink our people into electing those who should not be elected. And they hide under the platform of a political party. And all you hear is, oh, vote for a particular political party like mine. People, some would say, oh, vote for APC, vote for APC. And I told them, look, like they have said that PDP is not the governor of Rivers State, and then APC is not the president of Nigeria. That means the person hiding behind that political party is key, and that is the person that gets elected. And so for me, what Nigerians must do, and particularly those of us in Rivers State, what we must do is to scrutinize the person behind each political party's platform. That is, those who are flag bearers. Forget about the political party. Who is behind? What is the person's trajectory? What has the person got to offer?
But would you? I would like to differ a little bit. Would you say that you can separate the individual from the party? For example, if you're coming on the back of a highly corrupt party, if any individual is coming on the back of a highly corrupt party, like Nigerians would say that it is, and not just say that it is, I mean, based on antecedents, based on actions, based on past experiences, would we necessarily say that from that party a salvager can come out of it?
Yes.
It definitely will influence the way that we think about that party. In fact, it will create bias when it comes to that particular party, because you're coming on the back of a party that is not quite popular with the people when it comes to delivering good outcomes.
Yeah, you see, that's like I said, I differ completely, because the lack of delivering on the electoral promises or expectations of the citizenry stems from the quality of the leader that is elected. Like I said, we don't, in the real sense of it, we don't elect political parties. Have you ever seen PDP before? Have you ever seen APC before? No. So, the impact of governance that we are experiencing here, whether it's negative or positive, is caused by the leader of this state, and that is the governor of Rivers State, and not PDP. PDP is not the governor of Rivers State. PDP is not the chairman of the local government in my LGA. APC is not the president of Nigeria. And so it comes down to the quality of the leader that we elect. Okay. And so when such a leader is a corrupt leader, he is going to be corrupt. If it's also
irrespective of the party.
Exactly.
Okay, I would leave that on pause because we are time bound, but normally I would engage him on that because I strongly
maybe privately.
All right. Okay, but now talking about promises, kindly enlighten us about your manifesto for the Omuma constituency.
the role of the legislator essentially is to make laws and also to serve as a watchdog, if you will, in respect of the executive, so as to ensure that the executive doesn't become,
or run rogue.
Exactly, tyrant, and also scrutinize policies of the executive, and with my experience, I'm a commercial legal practitioner, and so I interact with businessmen and women, and so I understand the importance of, the lawmaking process and how it can impact on the economy of the state. And so one of the things that I would do is, of course, with my wealth of experience as a commercial legal practitioner, is there are certain bills, that I would sponsor, particularly as it relates to taxation. Because one of the things that stifles businesses is taxation. So I'm going to propose a bill that will harmonize our tax regime, both at the state and at the local government level. By, of course, we have our limits when it comes to tax, because taxable components, of course, they are trickled down. Those are the federal, those are the state, and those are the local government. So we're going to liaise also with the local government authority, that's the local government legislative arm, so as to streamline our tax system in Rivers State, such that it becomes very attractive. And the other is through the legal process. And I say so because of my experience as a legal practitioner and a commercial one at that, and I've advised clients outside of Nigeria. And one of the things that I've been unable over the years to answer them definitively on is, they will ask, when they intend to invest in Nigeria, that if there is a dispute that degenerates into litigation, how long would that litigation last? And for all my years of experience as a legal practitioner, I have never answered them definitively because I have no such answer. And so I intend to push for a reform that would, benchmark commercial litigations to a certain frame. And that would distinguish Rivers State from the rest of the states. And so when investors want to come into Nigeria to invest, and they see that Rivers State has a legal framework that makes it determinable, as per, duration of determining any commercial dispute that could arise, and of course in the court, it will make Rivers State to be a much more attractive investment destination to them than any other state in Nigeria. And you see, one of the things that will help the Rivers State economy grow is the level of particularly foreign direct investment that we have here. And so what we have over the years, is a degeneration of, those investments. And Kaduna State is high up there. And you wonder, why would a state like Rivers State, be the state where we have the highest unemployment rate in Nigeria? I mean, that is something that is unfathomable. But that's a reality. And then we look at Rivers State also, we find that this is the state where since 2015, retirees have not been paid their dues. This is also a state where since 2015 till date, there has not been promotion in the Rivers State Civil Service. And this, these are, things that impact so negatively on the economy. And then when we talk about the growth or lack of it in the state, these are some of the things that cause it. And then the other is, the harsh, environment that the government creates. Like, as a Rivers man, if I have billions to invest, I'm not likely to choose Rivers State under the present government, because especially, I'm a member of the APC and I set up a business. The government could just, because of my political affiliation, shut down the business. And you think those who intend to invest in Rivers State, they are not going to consider that? They will, and they're not going to come here to invest. And that's why we have this.
It's a boomerang effect.
Exactly. And so that's why, for me, I think as Rivers people, we have a rare opportunity to get it right. And we need someone who will think like a businessman and then run this state like a businessman. And that's how our economy will grow. And of course, I'm not speaking so because out of bias, I'm speaking so out of reality. And Pastor Omuma Co is that man. And yes, and here is someone who has accomplished himself. as a private businessman, who founded a company that has branches in 38 countries.
Sahara Energy.
Okay, this is something that is apparent. We're not talking about something that is
ephemeral.
Exactly. And so we need, persons like that to steer the affairs of.
Okay, so I'll just, before we get into the whole canvassing of the gubernatorial candidate for your party, but so based on what you have said, I love all that you have said in theory. They sound really good, but I know that us Nigerians, the biggest issue we have with a lot of our officers that we've put in positions to govern us properly is they give us a lot of theory and good manifestos, but when they get in there, nothing is happening. And then we are wondering, so based off of all that you have said, it's really interesting, but what do you have to say about the bias Nigerians already have when it comes to the judicial and legislative arms of government? And you come on the back of it.
Yeah.
I mean, your primary background, as a legal practitioner, we're already looking at you like, okay, he already knows how to speak the words. He already has the biases on how he can be able to channel things, to suit him and his own private policies and all of that. But I still understand that your background as a legal practitioner is also your strength in the House of Assembly that you're canvassing for. But what would you have to say about that bias that we have as Nigerians when it comes to your field?
Yeah, what it resonates.
I mean, look at what is even happening.
Yeah,
with the
what it
Supreme Court.
resonates is. One of our biggest problems, that is institutional failures, okay? And those institutional failures arise because we have those who run our affairs who profit from those institutional failures because they want institutions that are weak and that they can manipulate. And so what we work towards, and by the grace of God as our people elect us, is to strengthen those institutions and insulate them from the influence of government. For instance, I don't subscribe to the process of appointment of judges that requires the governor's approval ultimately before judges are appointed. And when they're also to be sworn in, it is the governor who will swear them in. So that even when the entire process is done and it gets to that point of a judge of the High Court, for instance, to be sworn in, and the governor says, this judge, yes, you have gone through all the processes, I won't swear you in. That judge will not function as a judicial officer. We have had that experience under Dr. Odili. A judge of the High Court designate was appointed. And because, for whatever the reason, maybe he didn't like his face or whatever, he didn't swear him in. And so for the 8 years, His Excellency Governor Odili was governor of Rivers State, he was not sworn in. And he couldn't practice as a legal practitioner anymore because once you're appointed as a judge of the High Court, you lose your right to practice as a legal practitioner, even at retirement. Okay, so this man suffered that, consequence because there was power vested in the executive and, of course, the governor to have a say in that process of appointment. The same at the federal level to the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to push for a system where that process of appointment and commencement of duty will be insulated from the executive. And then the other also is the funding. The judiciary should, which is what it is on paper, should be on the first charge, a consolidated funding process, such that they'll have their budget, which is presented and approved by the legislator, and then, and funded, okay? And the funds would be drawn from the consolidated fund. So they don't go cap in hand begging the executive for, funding of their budget and all that. So now, like I said, it's institutional failure, and those who run the executive particularly profit from it. And so they do everything that they can to undermine those institutions. Because you see, if you have a very, strong judicial institution,
self-sustained,
a whole lot of things will fall in place. The excesses we see of those in governance, not just the executive, we also have those in the legislature who, abuse power. Mm-hmm. We have also police officers who abuse power. we have private individuals who also abuse power. But when these institutions are, strengthened and and they discharge their duties as they should, which is achievable. And then the other two is consequences for our actions. We have a society where much of what we see is lack of consequences for actions, and it's not just in the negative. You have people who diligently work very hard and honestly, and they find it hard to make an honest living.
Right.
And you have those who, compromise the system, who are into fraud, and then they profit from that fraud. And what does that do in the psyche of those who are committed to doing what is right? They begin to wonder whether their choice of pursuing the right path is actually the good choice. And before you know it, those numbers begin to diminish.
To drop. Mm-hmm.
And then those who are more into what is wrong and profiting from it
Increases.
keep on increasing. And that's where we are as a nation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said. Totally well said. I think that the judicial definitely should have some form of autonomy. But something that interests me about you transitioned from PDP to APC, and that is the cross-carpeting a lot of Nigerians dislike. All right, but just a quick one, briefly. What informed your transition? Why that move? Because you've been there as a Calcara member right from 2011. So why that change? Just briefly.
Yeah, it was basically political exigencies of the time. Okay, I belong to the Right Honorable Mechi political bloc, and so while he was serving as the governor of Rivers State, he literally became, isolated from the PDP, and every effort he made at reconciliation failed. And in politics, to canvass for votes for any elective office, you must belong to a political party. And so as our leader at the time, he's not joining any other political party meant that we're all going to go into political extinction. And then, of course, the APC at that time was at its formative stage. And we envisioned that, we're putting our all into that political party that was literally unknown at that time, that we could stand a chance of perhaps forming government. And of course, we indeed ended up forming the government.
Right.
So it was a matter of, political exigencies of the time that made us to transition.
All right. Thank you. Well said. So I think we definitely have come to the end of this interview. But what we right now are in a politically heated moment. Elections, they're already ongoing. So I would like to ask, what are your projections for those who will be the newly elected officers in the new Nigeria that we so canvass for? What are your projections for the next 4 years? What do you think this new crop of leadership and this whole electoral process will bring about for Nigerians?
Yeah, I think key to our expectation is the process by which these leaders will emerge. So for every leader that emerges through this process, via a transparent process, would know that such a leader emerged because, he or she, of course, is a choice of the people. And that brings with it responsibility to the people. That brings with it accountability. But when leaders emerge through the process of rigging or compromising of the electoral process, and they find themselves in any political office that they know they're undeserving of, and that they know that the people have not entrusted in them, then they are not going to be accountable to the people. They are also not going to be responsible to the people. So we're going to have a mixture of, the feedback or the consequences of this leadership, depending on how these leaders emerge. And that's why I advocate for a transparent process, so that we will have leaders that would be reflective of the wishes of the people and who also would know that they are responsible to the people. Otherwise, they would be voted out subsequently.
Thank you so much, sir. It has been absolutely enlightening having this conversation with you, Mr. Kenneth Kelechi Ubani. Even though you refuse that I call you barrister or honorable, but that is okay. Thank you so much. And to our viewers out there, I hope that you enjoyed this interview, and I hope that you've learned one or two things, and definitely we hope for the best outcomes for you. And remember, this is Staff Exclusive, this is Staff TV. You want to stay tuned, you want to stay glued, and turn on that notification bell always. For today, bye for now. Thank you for watching. I remain your host, Natasha.